This is where I had to get ultra dramatic. And to do that, to cry, so the tears come out of your eyes naturally, it takes a bit of doing.
In Hollywood, fame burns fast. One day your name shines in lights, the next it's gone. Most stars fade and never return, but some refuse to disappear. They wait in the dark until the world remembers their glow, and when they rise again, they burn brighter than ever.
You want to know? I want to know! Okay, I'm going to tell you, because you had the talent to become a good fighter.
1. Jackie Coogan. Jackie Coogan was just 7 years old when the world fell in love with him. His small, expressive face beside Charlie Chaplin in The Kid, 1921, made audiences laugh and cry across the globe. By 1924, he had become one of Hollywood's first true child superstars, earning an estimated $4 million, a fortune that should have secured his future. But when he came of age, Coogan discovered that his parents had spent nearly all of it. His legal fight for what remained led to the creation of the Coogan Law in 1939, protecting future child actors from exploitation. As the years passed, the boy who had once symbolized innocence faded from the spotlight. For decades, he lived in the shadow of his own fame, a veteran, a survivor, and a forgotten man in an industry he helped build. Then, in 1964, television gave him a second life. Cast as the eccentric Uncle Fester in The Addams Family, Coogan turned his tragedy into triumph. The little boy from The Kid was reborn, older, stranger, and beloved all over again. His comeback proved that even the smallest star can burn twice. 2. Gloria Swanson. In the 1920s, Gloria Swanson reigned as the undisputed queen of Hollywood glamour. She starred in more than 60 films by the end of the silent era and was one of the first actresses to command million-dollar contracts. Her gowns set fashion trends, and her every move made headlines. But when sound arrived in the late 1920s, the industry shifted overnight. Though Swanson's voice suited talkies, audiences had moved on. The world no longer wanted its silent goddesses. She spent much of the 1930s and 1940s away from the screen, focusing on business ventures and stage work, her fame dimming but never disappearing. Then, in 1950, came one of cinema's most poetic resurrections. Swanson returned to the screen as Norma Desmond in Sunset Boulevard, a forgotten silent star dreaming of a comeback. The role blurred the line between fiction and truth. Audiences saw Swanson and Desmond as two sides of the same haunting legend. Her performance earned her an Academy Award nomination and restored her name to immortality. Gloria Swanson didn't just come back, she turned her own past into art, proving that even forgotten queens can reclaim their crown. 3. Buster Keaton. Buster Keaton was a genius of motion, the man who could fall from a building, dust himself off, and make it look like ballet. His expressionless face and impossible stunts made him one of the silent era's greatest innovators. In the 1920s, he directed and starred in classics like Sherlock Jr., 1924, and The General, 1926, films that still define visual comedy. But when sound arrived, everything changed. MGM took away his creative control in 1928. His marriage to Natalie Talmadge collapsed, and alcohol became his refuge. By the early 1940s, the great Buster Keaton was working uncredited on small projects, a silent master in a world that had learned to talk too much. Yet, genius doesn't vanish, it waits. In the 1950s, television rediscovered him. Keaton appeared on The Ed Wynn Show, The Twilight Zone, and countless commercials, captivating a new generation who had never seen him fall or fly. Young directors like Orson Welles and Billy Wilder hailed him as one of the true architects of cinema. In his final years, he returned to the big screen in A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, 1966. His spirit unbroken and his timing still perfect. Buster Keaton didn't just make a comeback, he proved that real artistry survives every era. 4. Frank Sinatra. By the early 1950s, Frank Sinatra's golden voice had gone silent. During the 1940s, he was America's sweetheart, the skinny kid with a microphone who gave hope to soldiers and love songs to the girls waiting at home. But by 1951, his record sales had collapsed. His vocal cords were damaged, and Columbia Records dropped him. His stormy marriage to Ava Gardner only made the headlines worse. To the public, Sinatra was finished, a has-been at just 35. Then came From Here to Eternity, 1953. Desperate for work, Sinatra begged Columbia Pictures for the small supporting role of Private Maggio and got it for just $8,000. What followed was pure Hollywood redemption. His raw, emotional performance won him the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor and silenced everyone who had written him off. Almost overnight, the man once mocked as washed up became the chairman of the board, leading a new era of swing, swagger, and second chances. Sinatra's comeback wasn't just a return to fame, it was the birth of legend. When he sang again, it wasn't the crooner of the 1940s people heard. It was a survivor who'd learned that heartbreak and humility make the voice deeper, and the man unforgettable. 5. Mickey Rooney. For a time, Mickey Rooney was the most famous boy in the world. From the late 1930s through the early 1940s, he was MGM's biggest star, leading the Andy Hardy series and partnering with Judy Garland in musicals that defined an era. At just 19, he was the highest-paid actor in America, a symbol of youthful energy and optimism during the Depression. But when World War II ended and Hollywood's taste matured, Rooney's boyish charm no longer fit. His box office draw vanished almost overnight. The next decades were hard. His marriages, 8 in total, made headlines for all the wrong reasons, and money troubles haunted him despite his talent. He was written off as a relic of another age, a man out of time in an industry that had once adored him. Yet Mickey never stopped working. Stage, television, even small film roles, anything to keep performing. Then, in 1979, came The Black Stallion. His portrayal of Henry Daly, the wise old trainer, earned him an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor and a wave of rediscovered admiration. Rooney's face was older, lined with the years that had humbled him, but the spark was the same. Quick, mischievous, and indestructible. His comeback proved that some performers don't age out of Hollywood, they simply outlast it. 6. Fred Astaire. Fred Astaire was elegance personified. With a top hat, a smile, and effortless rhythm, he turned dance into poetry. From Top Hat, 1935, to Swing Time, 1936, he redefined what grace on screen could look like. But time moves fast in Hollywood, and by the late 1950s, the age of lavish musicals was ending. The man who had danced through the golden age suddenly found himself out of step with a new generation. Astaire could have retired quietly. His legend was already secure, but he never stopped moving. In the 1960s, he embraced television, winning Emmy Awards for his musical specials and showing that elegance worked in any format. Then, in The Towering Inferno, 1974, he shocked audiences again, playing a dignified con artist in a dramatic role that earned him an Oscar nomination. The man who once glided across marble floors was now standing tall amid flames and chaos, still graceful, still magnetic. Fred Astaire's comeback wasn't about chasing relevance. It was a final dance, proof that true style, once mastered, never fades with time. 7. Lionel Barrymore. Born into the first family of American theater, Lionel Barrymore seemed destined for greatness, and for a while, he lived it. His performances in the 1930s were commanding, full of strength and dignity, and in 1931, he won the Academy Award for Best Actor for A Free Soul. Then came years of injury and arthritis. By 1938, his worsening hip problems forced him into a wheelchair, what many thought would be the end of his career. But Barrymore refused pity. He adapted, turning frailty into strength. Throughout the 1940s, he continued to work, portraying the wise Dr. Gillespie in MGM's popular Dr. Kildare series. Then, in 1946, he created one of cinema's most unforgettable villains, Mr. Potter, in It's a Wonderful Life. Though his body failed him, his voice and spirit never did. He became Hollywood's quiet symbol of endurance, proving that talent can outlast even the body that carries it. Lionel Barrymore's comeback wasn't loud or triumphant. It was steady, dignified, and profoundly human. 8. Joan Blondell. In the early 1930s, Joan Blondell was the sparkle in Warner Brothers' crown. Witty, radiant, and always one wisecrack away from stealing the scene. She appeared in more than 50 films during that decade, often paired with James Cagney, and known for her quick humor and big heart. Audiences adored her as the girl who could be both glamorous and grounded. But by the mid-1940s, the studio system that made her a star began to crumble. New faces arrived, and Hollywood's definition of beauty shifted overnight. For a time, Blondell drifted through smaller roles and B pictures, working steadily but without the fame she once commanded. Yet, she never lost her warmth or that unmistakable twinkle in her eye. In the 1960s, she returned to critical attention with The Cincinnati Kid, 1965, earning praise for her touching, world-weary performance as Lady Fingers. Television soon embraced her too, with appearances on Here Come the Brides, 1968-70. And The Twilight Zone. By the time the spotlight found her again, Blondell no longer chased it. Her comeback wasn't about stardom. It was about endurance, grace, and the quiet power of a performer who never stopped showing up. 9. Mae West. Mae West was never just a movie star. She was a one-woman revolution, wrapped in silk and diamonds. In the early 1930s, her wit and sensuality shocked America and saved Paramount Pictures from bankruptcy. She wrote her own scripts, defied censors, and turned innuendo into high art. Lines like, "When I'm good, I'm very good, but when I'm bad, I'm better," became part of Hollywood legend. But in 1934, the Hays Code arrived, and Mae West's brand of boldness suddenly became too dangerous. Studios pulled back, and by the 1940s, she had nearly vanished from the screen. Still, she lived like royalty, performing in Las Vegas and on stage, adored by fans who never forgot her. Then came the 1970s, when a new generation rediscovered her as the original queen of camp. Myra Breckinridge, 1970, and Sextet, 1978, brought her back to the silver screen, older, sharper, still completely herself. Even in her 80s, Mae West could silence a room with a look and a line. She didn't adapt to Hollywood. She made Hollywood adapt to her. Her comeback was more than nostalgia. It was proof that true charisma doesn't age. It just grows bolder. 10. Burgess Meredith. In the 1930s, Burgess Meredith was a rising star, intense, articulate, and impossible to ignore. He broke through on Broadway before making his film debut in Winterset, 1936, earning acclaim for his intelligence and emotional depth. By the early 1940s, he seemed destined for a long, distinguished career. But post-war America had other plans. During the Red Scare of the late 1940s, Meredith was accused of having leftist sympathies and found himself effectively blacklisted. Though never formally charged, his name quietly disappeared from studio call sheets. For more than a decade, he worked mostly in theater and voice acting, surviving on his craft while Hollywood turned its back. Then, in 1966, television brought him roaring back as the Penguin in Batman, a performance so vivid it turned a comic villain into pop culture royalty. A decade later, he gave the world another unforgettable figure. Mickey Goldmill, the gravel-voiced trainer in Rocky, 1976. His weathered face and raspy wisdom gave the film its heart. Burgess Meredith's comeback wasn't loud or glamorous. It was steady, human, and honest. After decades of near silence, he became something far greater than a star, the living voice of perseverance itself. 11. Robert Mitchum. Robert Mitchum always looked like he'd seen too much. The heavy-lidded eyes, the lazy drawl, he was built for shadows and smoke. By the mid-1940s, he was one of Hollywood's brightest young stars, earning an Academy Award nomination for the story of G.I. Joe, 1945. But in September 1948, everything collapsed. Mitchum was arrested in Los Angeles for marijuana possession, a scandal that sent shockwaves through post-war America. He served 43 days on a prison farm, and for months afterward, gossip columns treated him like a fallen idol. Yet, Mitchum refused to repent. He leaned into his image as the rebel, unbothered, untamed, magnetic. Within a year, he was back on screen in Rachel and the Stranger, 1948, and Holiday Affair, 1949, rebuilding his career one film at a time. Then came The Night of the Hunter, 1955, and Cape Fear, 1962, where his quiet menace became pure cinematic mythology. Robert Mitchum didn't just survive scandal, he made it part of his legend. By the end of his life, he wasn't just forgiven, he was celebrated as one of the last true originals, dangerous, weary, and unforgettable. 12. Joan Crawford. Joan Crawford's rise was pure fire, from a poor Texas girl named Lucille LeSueur to the reigning queen of MGM in the 1930s. She climbed from chorus lines to stardom in films like Grand Hotel, 1932, becoming the face of determination itself. But by 1938, the same studio that built her was ready to let her go. That year, the Independent Theater Owners Association branded her box office poison, and to the press, her career was over. Crawford refused to accept it. She left MGM in 1943 and, 2 years later, Mildred Pierce, 1945, changed everything. Her portrayal of a mother clawing her way through betrayal and ambition won her an Oscar and silenced every critic who had buried her. It wasn't just a comeback, it was a resurrection. Crawford went on to reinvent herself again and again, from noir to horror, from glamour to grit. Even when age dimmed her presence, her legend never did. In a city obsessed with youth, Joan Crawford proved that reinvention isn't weakness, it's immortality. 13. Bette Davis. If Hollywood had a single definition of resilience, it would be Bette Davis. Through the 1930s and early 1940s, she was untouchable, one of Warner Brothers' most bankable stars and a two-time Academy Award winner. But by the late 1940s, her box office power had faded. The studios called her difficult, scripts stopped coming, and whispers said her reign was over. Then came All About Eve in 1950. Davis poured her frustrations and brilliance into the role of Margot Channing, an aging star clinging to dignity as youth closes in. The performance reignited her career and proved that talent doesn't expire with age. Bette Davis didn't just survive Hollywood, she conquered it twice. From Whatever Happened to Baby Jane in 1962 to her final television roles, she never stopped commanding every frame she entered. True power, she showed, isn't youth, it's presence. 14. Marlene Dietrich. During her heyday in the 1930s, Marlene Dietrich was the very definition of allure, smoky, distant, and untouchable. From The Blue Angel, 1930, to Shanghai Express, 1932, she turned mystery into an art form, redefining what it meant to be a movie star. But after World War II, her image as the German temptress became complicated. Having renounced Nazi Germany and supported U.S. troops on the front lines, she returned to Hollywood a patriot. Yet her old screen persona no longer fit the world that had just survived war. She could have vanished, but Dietrich refused to fade. In the 1950s and 1960s, she reinvented herself as a stage performer, touring the world with glittering cabaret shows that blended elegance, irony, and heartbreak. Beneath a single spotlight, her husky voice turned every song into a confession, and audiences adored her all over again. Marlene Dietrich didn't just make a comeback, she transcended the screen itself. She built an empire of nostalgia, turning her past into performance and her legend into art. 15. Elizabeth Taylor. Elizabeth Taylor was born into stardom, a child actress at 10 in National Velvet, 1944, and by her 20s, already a legend. The camera adored her violet eyes, her beauty, her intensity. But even she, the silver screen's reigning queen, couldn't escape the cruelty of fame. Her every love affair became a headline. Her marriages, 8 in total, a national obsession. By the early 1960s, after the scandalous romance with Richard Burton and the chaotic production of Cleopatra, 1963, she was dismissed by many as too dramatic, too unstable, too much. Then came Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, 1966, and everything changed. Gone was the polished beauty. In her place stood a raw, wounded woman, unafraid to age and unravel. The performance earned her a second Academy Award for Best Actress and redefined what female power could look like on screen. Elizabeth Taylor's comeback wasn't about youth or glamour, it was about truth. She proved that a woman in Hollywood could grow older, bear her scars openly, and still command the room. And that, finally, made her immortal. Hollywood forgets quickly. Faces fade, spotlights die, and applause turns to silence. But some stars refuse to fade. They rise again, brighter for having burned. In the end, that's what makes them legends. Not perfection, but endurance.